So this is me. I am Bill Wagner. I am the Chief Relationship Officer for Esports Labs. There's the website if you want to check that out. Side projects, I have many. What I really enjoy doing is writing and interviewing people from all over the globe, and I do mean all over the globe. One of my favorite interviews that I've ever done, I talked to the owner of the first recognized esports organization in Zambia. I actually had a Discord conversation with a woman who was the co-owner of the first professional esports organization in Zambia. It was freaking awesome. I love that sort of thing. If you want to connect with me, that's always welcome. LinkedIn and Twitter is where I hang out. Some of the writing that I do that doesn't fit on the Game House. The Game House is a site that's focused on esports as well as other sports, basketball, baseball, soccer, football, things like that. But I write a lot of stuff on Medium as well. I've been a fast pitch umpire for 20 years this spring. In fact, that's the main reason I'm down here in the first place. I was working some college fast pitch games out at Majestic Park. So I've actually been here since last Wednesday.
So I guess, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your personality, your hobbies, I guess your disability if you have one?
Sure. So my background, I've done a lot of things in my life. I graduated from college originally in 1995, and then I worked in retail for a couple of years. And 2001, I became a blackjack dealer, and I did that for about 10 years. In that time, I also began to be a fast pitch softball umpire, and I picked up basketball and soccer along the way too. For softball now, I've worked my way up to Division I. I do Division I college fast pitch softball now. This spring here is 20 years for me. And I earned a master's degree in 2016. What I do right now is I write articles online for the Game House. I do sort of podcast style interviews. I've written about other topics that aren't gaming. I've written for a couple other sites. As far as my speech goes, I mean, it's pretty obvious that I have a speech impediment. It's been with me pretty much all my life. It wasn't until about the past maybe 10 years that I've really picked up some tools on how to deal with it on an effective basis. How to understand some of the triggers and how to prepare myself for situations. The funny thing about all that is that when I'm on the court and field, I really don't have a problem. And maybe that's just because I've been doing it for so long or whatever, but I normally don't have a problem. I've reached the point in my career where I've seen enough and done enough that I have some stock answers that I use with coaches and players. And then when certain things happen, I've actually found some very practical tools when it comes to responding to people. And it usually involves, I don't really say very much. I say as few words as possible. And that's both practical and it's both practical and from an emotional standpoint, it's easier because most of the time players and coaches don't want you to respond anyway. And if you do, you say about 3 words and you're done. So
yeah. No, I'm a huge fan of sports, so I can completely understand. It's kind of a jerk instinct. You want to say the thing that happened and then move on, So I guess, right. Would you say that's kind of therapeutic to you? Kind of get back to normal speech in that sense?
What sports has done for me in general, I mean, I've actually talked about this on other articles and websites. It really forces me to work on my nonverbal communication, my posture and presence, my mechanics. Forces me to work on my rules, so that I'm doing all the communicating that I can without actually saying anything, so that when the situation presents itself, that I've done all that I can do beforehand. And the, you know, obviously in your first couple of years you struggle with various things, and you have to handle issues as you learn. But I've now reached a point where I have credibility with coaches. I know how to handle people a lot better now. I mean, it's just, you know, from age. You don't get to be an umpire for 20 years if you don't know how to talk to people. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it just forces me to focus. It's real easy to be distracted on the court and on the field. People are always yelling at you. I mean, everybody has an opinion.
Yeah.
And so I work really hard at just doing my job and understanding the flow of the game. And so, yeah.
Okay, cool. So would you want to talk about a little bit about this clip that you sent me here and explain the situation?
Sure. So back on April 26th, 2008, I was working a fast pitch softball game close to my house, and the clip is Central Washington University versus a team in their conference. The girl for the opponents, she hits her one and only home run in her entire softball career. So from when she started in youth and high school and summer ball and all the way through college, she hits the one home run of her entire career. One. She hit one, and that's it. So so I'm on the bases, and when she hits the ball, it's over. She missed first base. Well, baseball and softball, you have to touch the bases, touch each base. So the first base coach tells her, come back and touch the base. So she stops to turn, and her knee just like explodes. She tore her ACL right in that spot, like right then. It blew up, and she like crawls back to the base, and she's holding onto the base. She can't walk. She can't walk at all. She's stuck. And so the ball's over the fence, there isn't anything else going on. And I'm standing there, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, so what can I do here to fix this? I'm trying to figure out, it's like, I can probably call it a dead ball and award her home. I could probably do like a substitution or something. Well, right as I'm ready to say what I'm going to do, the first baseman for Central comes up, and she asks me if she can carry the runner around the base. She wants to carry her from base to base to base.
The other team.
And I kind of went, right. She wants to help the other team out. And I looked at her like, what? Why would you want to do something like that? And so I kind of thought about it for a minute. It's like, well, it's not interference. It's not obstruction. The ball's dead. There's no play being made. I'm like, okay, go right ahead. I don't care. And so her and one of her teammates, the shortstop, they picked her up and they went to each base, and they had her touch each base, and they brought her home, and that home run, those two RBIs made the score 3-2, and her team ended up winning the game. Yeah, it's one of the more amazing things that has ever happened, not just to me, but just overall in general. So if you want to look up the names Liz Wallace and Mallory Holtman. Mallory Holtman, she's the first baseman. Okay. And you can, you'll see them on TV. They ended up on Oprah and Helen, and when they were interviewed by the Today Show and Good Morning America, and they were like all over the place on this. And so I got to be sort of famous out of it. There's So each year when I certify with the NCAA as a college umpire, there's a question on the test, and it stemmed from that play. So and so now I'm directly responsible for a certain question on the NCAA test every year.
Wow. Okay, cool. What was your reaction to all this unfolding in front of you?
Well, in the moment, I'm like trying to figure out. Okay, I mean, I'm sure there's a rule for this. And then she asked me, can we carry her? And I'm like, okay, well, that's an odd question. But I started kind of pondering in my head. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine, go for it. If you want to do it, do it. I'm not going to stop you. The gravity of the situation didn't hit me until the game was over, and I got back to my car, and I called my boss and I said, hey, this just happened, here's what we did, and he's like, oh, okay. And so I said, look, we have to do one more game after this. So, this was game 2 of the doubleheader. And so I called him and I told him, I just, laid it all out for him. He's like, wow. I'm like, yeah. So just so you know, that's what we did. And I'm sure you'll hear about it. Well, so between the field and my house, there's a dead space of about an hour where, where there isn't any cell service or nothing.
Oh, wow.
So I drive, so I drive home. I honestly don't think anything about it. I'm like, okay, whatever, this happened. And then I got home and I got like 5 phone calls, like bang, 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 bang. And they're all from my boss and a couple other people. And he said, this is going to be larger than you think. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I don't have time to explain it right now, but I'll get back to you. So 2 days later, I'm at work and I was sitting in the break room and I get this phone call and my boss is like, they want to interview you. I'm like, who's they? Who are they? Well, we got ESPN, we got Sports Illustrated, we got, all these TV shows. And I'm like, holy crap. Why do you want to talk to me? I didn't do anything. And so I actually ended up being interviewed by Sports Illustrated like a month later, because it was like that big. It ended up on billboards. The girls ended up going to the ESPYs. In fact, if you Google Justin Timberlake Central Washington University softball ESPYs, you'll see the whole sequence where Justin Timberlake comes on stage and he's dancing and performing, and then he fake falls down. Oh, my knee. I
think I hurt my knee. Oh, softball girls picking me up on the stage. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
My knee, and then the girls all walk on stage and they carry him off the stage, and it's like, oh, these are the softball girls, and I'm like, oh boy. So it actually ended up being larger than it was. And then 1 year later, I got another phone call, and they're like, hey, this happened 1 year ago. I'm like, all right, if you want to interview me, sure, I'll just tell you the same thing I told you last time. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, it actually ended up being a really big deal for a lot of people. The school ended up getting a bunch of money in donations, and when I say a bunch of money, I'm talking like I heard a figure once, they got like $75,000 in donations from that. So they bought new uniforms, and they got their bus fixed and things like that. I'm like, wow, that's pretty awesome,
Definitely deserve it, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. Wow. Okay. That was a curveball for the interview, but definitely an inspiring story for sure.
Yeah.